with these GTM tools like Unify, Clay, Cargo, you just like get on a few clicks what took like weeks to build. 10 years ago, we called it growth hacking, it's growth marketing, and no, it's GTM engineering, but you can go much deeper on the research that you're doing on companies. Like you can be much more granular about the signals. Our jobs will be impacted. So you and me, I guess that we are well positioned because like, of course, we are like interested in these things. We are like navigating this environment and we are like connected with the right people, but marketing will change. And so like the team will be much more lean. You will maybe have like 1 or 2 person who will just like have an army of agents that will like work there, and we don't even know how it will look like.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the Evergrow Show. My guest today is Achkan Chavoushi, a seasoned growth and go-to-market operator with over a decade of experience helping companies find traction and scale. I first met Achkan at Sketchfab, which we grew from a hobbyist 3D platform to an acquisition by Epic Games. Since then, he's had an impressive career that includes accomplishments like helping French tech CEOs enter the U.S. markets as part of the French Embassy's Impact USA program, leading growth at companies like Lang AI and Tiny Clues, and now running growth and go-to-market at Rippling across the U.S. and other key regions. Achkan, it's a pleasure to have you here.
Thank you so much for inviting me, Phil. And what an intro.
I always try to kick it off strong so that, we set the bar high. But yeah, I would love to dive right in and just ask you, what are some of the things that you're most excited about?
In the marketing space, I guess. So I feel that there's a lot of stuff happening right now. Data is becoming a commodity. What took years to build or engineers to build, and you needed to ask for specific resources like to CEOs to get the growth engineer, and that are like the most rare resources across the whole market. And like they were like, why would we allocate resources for engineers for the marketing departments? We are struggling with our product. Today, you don't need them anymore because data is becoming a commodity. Every single, with these GTM tools like Unify, Clay, Cargo, you just like get on a few clicks what took like weeks to build, like all the job postings, all the things that you needed to feed into a Snowflake database to then create your automation there for building your audiences. All of that is like a few clicks away. So this is like an interesting period because I think that the bar for marketing is raising, and you're able to build much more things, and you need to be even more inventive regarding like what you will build. And that's quite hard to do because like everything that we used to do, you and me, they are over and everyone is using them. So now it's just like, what can you build that no one else has thought about, and how you can get out of all this noise that is happening. And there's a lot of tactics. There's a lot of things that you can play with. There is like no-code tools. You can build like, mini games or whatever, but it's just like the bar has raised because everyone can build them now. So where do you actually provide at the end of the day? And being at Rippling is like, you can see like first, what's the product? Because like being a marketer for a good product is much easier because like the product is in demand. And I experienced that, I think you too, in several companies. It's just much easier. And then it's just like what you're building on top of that product that is like great and that people want. And yeah, so that's what's exciting right now. And all the capacities that you have to build whatever you want with a few clicks, basically.
It's fascinating how, it really feels like basically before there used to be this big barrier to entry of, what are the resources that you have? Can you afford these tools? Can you afford the experimentation? And now it's basically the playing field has completely leveled. Everybody's got access to everything. You no longer need the huge budgets. You no longer need these, some companies used to build these crazy in-house marketing, attribution, engineering resources, all these things. And now it's like, well, when everybody has everything, what really separates the best marketers from okay marketers? And it's just creativity, right? It's how creative can you get with it? How can you break through the noise when, everybody's got the automation and the personalization? How can you actually make that interesting? How do you make people care? So, yeah, that's a really great point. Well, I guess it's a very, very natural segue into what are some of the interesting ways that you're potentially leveraging AI in your growth marketing work at the moment?
Um, there is a lot of things that are happening right now, and a lot of like people who are working around a lot of cool stuff. I think like when data is a commodity, so like your champion that is moving from a company to another, like your a new hire in a specific company, that's like all this intent that was like unique 4 years ago, it's not anymore. So what you're doing is just like, at the moment where this data is available on Clay, everyone is going to erase it. So that person who is landing on a new job, you will receive like 100 emails the next day. So it's just like, how can you again get out of the noise in the crowd? It's just like, for me, is how much you can get creative in combining these data points together to just like um, do stuff that other don't do, or data that other don't have. And that's the hardest part to do. Like, if someone landed at a new job, if you had another data signal that says like this company was hiring actually for a specific position, so you have the mission of that person. If you scrap this person LinkedIn profile, you have like the LinkedIn profile of that person, you have the skills of that person, so you can actually like create like with AI or with a much better fit that even an SDR won't do. And you can just combine these data points, have like several leverage, several icebreakers, and that can like just get you again at the edge of what's being done and just like be hyper relevant. Another thing that I did, it was like on my last job, was like, we were a customer support company and we were serving with customer support AI automation for like large B2C companies. And what we did is, I scored like all the accounts that were our top 1,000 accounts that we wanted to be in. And what I did is like, what's the unique data point that I need and that can provide value for the prospect that's I don't have. And what we did is we tried to get the average answer time of all of these companies to just like figure out how we can like, who are the good players, who are the bad players, who needs automation actually. And what we did, we just took all the description of the companies, and most of the people are just like sending emails by using just a description of the company, and they are saying, "Hey, your company is doing X, Y, Z. I can help you with this." What we did is that we used that database instead of like this data, instead of like sending cold email, we just send an email to support at, and we just landed directly in the support, like in the Zendesk platform of these companies. And they started like, and we created like customer tickets that were actually like, um, like specific to that company, like, hey, my bike, I can't afford my bike isn't landing, isn't here. Hey, my credit card has some problem or whatever. And what we did there is we received the answers and we matched these answers with like on a single mailbox with when we sent them, etc. And we had like all the average answer time of all these companies. So we could actually like target those with like the best players, like, invite them on our podcast or whatever, or like the worst players, instead of saying like, hey, you're bad, we could say like, hey, your competitors are actually like, because we had everything segmented and we had a good database, your competitors are better than you, or are like, have like terrific stats. We can share with you the average answer time they have, and use that as an intent, and they will be like super curious. So it's just like, it gives you an edge of like what you can build that nobody else has. And I think like this is the new standard that you need to have. This is becoming harder and harder. And when we started at Sketchfab 10 years ago, we called it growth hacking, then it's growth marketing, and no, it's GTM engineering. But, like at that time, when you had like the profile ID of someone, you could just like took the profile ID at facebook.com and you were landing right on his inbox. That's how we were prospecting at that time. It's just insane that it was working. And that was like the edge of the knowledge that no one else had at that period.
Yeah.
And right now it's like, what's this new data in a world where data is available everywhere? What's that new edge that you can get? It's just by using data points in a new way. And I think that this is what's important right now.
Yeah, absolutely. It's so funny how previously what was the cutting edge has now become just commonplace. This is the new standard of operating. So you're constantly forced to innovate. But when you have basically infinite access to data, it's like, how do you maybe innovate even outside of what's been done before? So now you're not replicating others' success, you're like paving the path. And that's kind of the thing that really, is groundbreaking these days. The other interesting point that you touched on, and this is something that I've thought about recently, I feel like with AI and automation, we are able to do things that probably humans just didn't have the bandwidth to do before. So I heard recently that, you know, somebody basically added 30% to their pipeline revenue by effectively reaching out to folks that like SDRs would have looked at and said, I don't have the time to speak with them. I don't want to reach out to them. But now you just fire up an agent, you personalize amazing, beautiful, value filled emails to these folks. And all of a sudden, you just have 30% more revenue or more pipeline effectively. That's just crazy. So it's not only is it making us, able to do more creative things, but it's also making us increasingly more efficient. And I think those efficiency wins really compound across the board when you actually look at the bottom line and say, okay, cool. I used to be able to have this output. Now I have the 10x output. And if you as the human guide it creatively, you basically become limitless, which I think is just so cool.
The thing that is like interesting, there's two things here. The first one is like, the hard part is like you need to just like maintain what you're doing. So like, like we all have like, like the specific jobs or missions that you have to do. That is the baseline that you need to maintain. And so it's often like how you find time to give that glimpse of creativity and just to take more risk. And there is companies that have like, are a bit more risk averse than others, where you can just like have big bets basically. And these are the companies that are like innovating the most and that are doing some stuff. Rippling is kind of like one of those. It's taking a lot of risk. But yeah, but few CEOs are actually accepting to take this kind of like this risk to be at the edge. And next thing is like, one thing that we didn't touch on and that is interesting is like, you can go much deeper on the research that you're
Mhm.
doing on companies. Like, you can be much more granular about the signals. And these are like, hey, companies that have like a pricing page that is like usage based company, like these kind of things. Now you can run an agent that is actually going on this pricing page and that can gets you like the information that you need, and you can just like create much more agents or scrap much more things, or like, I don't know, companies who are like tackling at Business France, we were looking at like, as Business France, that was the French embassy, we were looking at companies where that wanted to go in the US. The first signal when you're getting abroad is just like, you have the first customer case study that is like abroad. Before, you needed to go on the trees of these companies, check all the use cases, and then say, hey, I have a signal. Now you can have an agent that is doing it. And all of these things are like much, you can build everything. And then the biggest problem for a marketer today, I feel, is becoming like how you prioritize. Because like the possibilities are limitless. You have, a CMO time on the company is like, I think a year or 14 months or 15
Yeah.
months right now. So it's just like, what do you prioritize to have the largest revenue impact on a shortest period of time? And that's the hardest thing.
Yeah, prioritization is becoming increasingly more important. I remember back at the days of Sketchfab, we had this huge list of things that we can do, and it was always like rice scoring, right? Like, what is the reach? What is the impact? How is this? How many resources is it going to take to build this? And now I feel like that list has just the same way that our capacity has 10x, that list is also 10x,
Yeah.
right? Because not only do you have all of your great ideas, but now you have all of these great ideas that are enabled by tools, and now you have even more information and data. Every time I open up LinkedIn or X or, the 100 newsletters that I get, it's just all these tactics and strategies, and everything looks great, and everybody's, making hundreds of thousands of dollars in 24 hours from this one agent automation. So I think actually, as marketers, we really have to fine tune our filters these days too a lot, right? We have to understand, like, okay, this is something that can truly be meaningful and scalable and make a difference, and this is just shiny object syndrome. And I'm seeing so much of this these days. And I think people have gotten so good at storytelling and creativity. I feel like, the Walt Disney formula has landed in everybody's hands. And now all of a sudden, every tool is this game changer. And it's just this one thing that you need. And your company is going to raise a Series D. And I think it's really interesting. Again, like you said, prioritization, I think, became even more important than it was before, if it wasn't already the most important thing, given everybody's resource constraints. So yeah, that's a really good point.
And also, like, I feel like the rules have changed, meaning that not only for AI, but just like because everything is becoming a commodity, now you have like companies that are going from 0 to 200 million within a year. And this law didn't exist before. Um, and, like the manners you're going like super hard into marketing at that moment when like, how do you reach that hyper growth? um, this is like net new models, and where like channels are becoming like, Google Ads, Meta Ads. Okay, you can get like an edge, or you can get like an increment of like, like 20% or 30% or 50% compared to what you're doing, or 100% compared to what you were doing. But can you get like a 3 or 4 or 500% ROI or regarding what's being done? I'm not sure, because these channels are saturated, the rules are there. So it's just like how you create like these new models that are actually like giving you that explosion of growth. And this, uh, you know, this is not about channels, but I feel like community is becoming much, much more important. Word of mouth is becoming much more important. So how actually like you can use these AI tools or these kind of things to actually like leverage those further, and just like surf on the surf as much as you can on the wave of what's being done. So that's also becoming more and more important. Like these new channels, these speakers, influencer, like, and B2C, like taking the techniques of B2C, like, this influencer marketer that is very used into like emerging startup in the B2C space. I feel like this is becoming bigger and bigger in B2B, and how you can use them, leverage them, will be actually like the growth unlocker for the next 2 to 5 years.
Absolutely. I think one of the biggest unlocks ever in B2B is remembering that you're still selling to humans. I remember there was this huge revolution a few years back where every B2B marketer was like, wait, we're actually selling to humans. So they're looking at their landing page copy, they're looking at their ads, they're looking at this email, and they were like, wow, this is written for machines. We really need to like change things around, and we need to remember that we're still using human psychology, we're still appealing to emotions, we're still appealing to outcomes. And so I think that was a huge unlock. And then to your point, I had a really, really good conversation recording with my friend Mario Paganini, who's this amazing brand marketer. And he said something that really stuck with me. He said, you can buy reach, right? No problem. You can spend your way into reaching every single person in the entire world. You can't buy attention. And so I think now the challenge is, when we have all of these distribution channels, and you can either go the organic route, you can go the paid route, you can go the partnership route, you can effectively reach everybody in the world, but you have to make them care. And I think this is the secret sauce these days. And this is why kind of this B2C tactical strategic approach is really leaking into B2B, because B2C companies, consumer companies, figured out a long time ago, how do we make people care? How do we make the average everyday person at scale care about my product? And if you can do that and apply that same thing with the distribution channels, with the targeting, with the automations, with the omni-channel outreach that we're doing in B2B, I mean, that's the secret to success, right? So yeah, 100%
Yeah.
agreed with that point. That's great.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with you saying. That's true.
Well, actually, really interesting segue into, because there is so much noise, and I think about this all the time. Every time I'm on LinkedIn, every time I open up X, every single person all of a sudden is making millions of dollars from N8N automations, and they're building these engines that completely earn them money while they sleep and automate their entire business. Who are some of the people or channels that you follow or that you look up to in regards to growth and marketing, and to understand what's actually working and not just the snake oil that's all over the internet these days?
I think I'm lucky enough to be French, and there's a lot of Frenchies who are out there on the market that are quite good. And I'm chatting with. G is one of them, Guillaume Caban, um, Sylvain from Augment Code. I think like everyone has like this kind of few people that is going to each time you have a question, rather than doing the research yourself, you know that you will have a perfect answer. I'm lucky enough also to be at Rippling, where like we have like a lot of world class marketers that are there and that are working with you. Um, so like there's a lot of great folk here. So it's always good for connecting with them. So these are the resources that I'm getting to, plus like 2 or 3 podcasts that I'm like listening to. But most of the time, I think whenever I need an advice or idea or to bounce ideas, it would be my network. I'm just pinging them directly on LinkedIn or WhatsApp or whatever, and I'm just having my answer within a few minutes, clicks away. And I feel like this is becoming like more and more the how we'll buy tools in the future. Like you just like rely on other people just telling you, and that's the human. That's exactly what's happening. Like for B2C, you have this friend who's telling you, "Hey, this brand of clothes is really good quality or whatever," and you're heading there, um, and you're not asking yourself a question before buying. So I feel like this is becoming also like in B2B, it will be more and more that because people are like much more aware, communities are there, informal communities are there. And that's where you're getting all your traction from. So it's like so that's how I'm operating.
Yeah, and it's so funny. It literally comes back to your point of community becoming increasingly more important. And now when we're in an era where you almost can't distinguish what's human, what's AI generated, what's real, what's not real, it's so important to have this basically this silo where you have the confidence in what's going on within it, and you have people that are operating, are achieving results, are being successful, and they're very actively participating out in the world and then bringing that feedback over to you. And I agree. I mean, that's part of the reason why I have these conversations, right? I think I can no longer trust my feeds or the internet to give me unadulterated data. Everything has a spin, everything has some sort of basically some sort of agenda behind what's being published. And so, I'm always researching, I'm always reading, but I think most importantly for me are talking with folks like you, right? And just getting this is what I'm hearing on the ground, this is what I'm seeing, this is what's working in practice, and being able to share that, especially in confidence, sometimes on recording, sometimes, just over dinner. I think this is what actually moves the world forward. And yeah, like you said, I mean, B2C industry unlocked that a very long time ago, whether it be regular referrals or incentivized referrals. They cracked the code on how to get people to become advocates and ambassadors. And that is going to become so much more increasingly important in B2B. And we're seeing that, right? With thought leader ads on LinkedIn, with people doing, basically B2B influencer sponsorships. We're seeing that play out, and I'm actually really, really interested to see what that looks like in the future, whether it be through human channels or even through AI influencers, which again, I'm also seeing happening right now. There are literally influencers out there who do not exist as human beings, but they have hundreds of thousands, if not millions of followers, and the traction isn't slowing down. It's just getting bigger.
And that's amazing because even yesterday I heard like this 2 person based in India who every single post they are publishing about growth, lead gen, etc., is like 2,000 like, 1,000 like, and this is like 2,000 people that are interested into buying your product at the moment. So you can just like, you can just grab them, qualify them, and just reach them out. Like this kind of like smaller signals than of like community driven signals also are like super valuable. And a few companies are actually like leveraging those.
Yeah,
And
absolutely. I mean,
LLM research also.
yeah.
LLM research is becoming like bigger and bigger. This morning I read like someone that was saying like LLM research on his website was converting at 27%, like 27 to paid. So that's like just like that's insane numbers. And I think like no other channels has such a high, Google used to have it in the insurance industry. Actually, I had like 30, 40, 50% like lead to conversion from a landing page, not to paid, but 27% for B2B SaaS. It's unseen in terms of conversion. And this is like also how you appear on LLMs. And what's funny is that you don't control really what's happening. We don't know like every single research that you will do on like all the tools like Profound, AirUps or whatever. They will be based out of like what you think people
Mhm.
are prompting. You don't really have the prompting data. Part of the vendors do, using some shady methodologies, but they kind of do like um, through cookies, etc. Like they are able to access like part of the data, but it's just like it's a human guess. It's not scientific right now. As SEO, like you have the search console, you just know how many people are looking. This is just like, hey, I'm assuming that people are asking the question that way, and this long term question research, you can just like add them up, and you can just like use some Aki methodology to appear there. But it's just like it's also becoming like a huge channel, and more than community. And I don't know, like our generation is relying more on the community, but who knows in 10 years or in 5 years how much confidence people will have into these tools, into these chats, this chat Gemini or ChatGPT or whatever, and and they might actually lead you toward company. And me personally, for some specific, very edge case or specific stuff, I'm also using this.
Yeah, and LLM traffic converting at a higher rate kind of makes sense to me. I mean, here you have this channel that basically you go to in order to solve your problems, consistently solves your problems for you. And now LLMs, they don't give you options like search used to give you. They give you recommendations, which is kind of the big difference, right? So now you have this trusted source, and it's no longer choose your own adventure. Here's all the things you can look at. It is, I am recommending you XYZ based on all of these millions, if not billions, of data points based on all of this research. When you have this inherent built-in trust in me because I've solved all of these problems for you. So it's almost becoming, and it's kind of scary to say this, but it's almost becoming like a partner, a confidant, a friend, right? And so obviously the same mechanism that we psychologically use to trust recommendations from our friends, because we have the trust, we have the authority, we have the reputation build up. It's kind of looking very, very similar with LLMs. So as much as I think it's a crazy stat that that traffic converts higher, not too surprised.
Yeah, not too surprised. And do you remember the first best friend LLM that existed out there? Clément Delong from Hugging Face,
Oh,
who was
yeah.
actually like
Yeah.
in our office at Sketchfab.
That's so crazy. I remember that journey too. I remember like watching him, obviously just throughout his whole career. Yeah, I
Yeah,
remember like having some dinners with him and talking about some of the challenges that he was facing before Hugging Face even. But to see that trajectory and that journey is crazy. He is
it's
running
insane.
one of the most successful AI companies in the world, and just watching that trajectory. I mean, shout out to Clement, it's
Yeah,
absolute legend.
it's great. Like that's what's funny. Like the AI best friend. Yeah, this
Yep.
idea in 2017.
And I remember the skepticism too. That's
Yeah,
probably the funniest thing to me. I remember
we were
just
the first one, but
yeah, yeah.
but yeah, it's insane. It's insane, like the trajectory and the growth.
It continues to reinforce the theory that if you are first and people don't think you're crazy, you're probably not gonna win.
No, yeah, you're right.
With all of this change that's going on, and obviously we talked a lot about, some of the opportunities and some of the things that we could be doing and should be looking into and some of the ways that we can win, I would love to ask you, do you have any fears or any concerns about all this shift? And, how is that playing out in the way that you're thinking about the future?
Um, do I have any fear? Like I was chatting with a colleague a few months ago, and he was saying like, "Hey, I just want to, earn as much as I can right now because I'm not sure about the future." And I feel like this is like kind of what everyone's thinking right now because like we see how much productivity it gives us. I'm seeing personally, like just not even like any fancy automation, just the prompting and just like how much it helps me. Like, you know, before I was brainstorming for hours for finding a sentence. Now I have like 20 or 30 proposition. I don't like a word. I'm just like refactoring it, etc. So it gave me like so much more productivity because if I'm able to find that catch line, that headline within like 5 minutes or 10 minutes instead of like 2, 3 hours. I just won like 2 hours and 50 minutes to do something else. So it's just like this will compound and that will like just increase and increase and increase. And with more agents that will come in and that will start like, just like doing the reporting that you are doing. And the best companies will say, hey, you have more time to raise your head and just to do something else. Like to find these edge things that we said about creativity, etc., and that will actually like work out. But um, but I think like yeah, we all know that jobs will be impacted. We don't know at which scale and how fast. Right now we are seeing like record unemployment across like young kids coming out of universities and out of college, the best college um, in the US, and this is across the board in France, etc. We are seeing kind of the same. We will see this tendency in 5 years, and yeah, so that's our jobs will be impacted. So you and me, I guess that we are well positioned because like, of course, we are like interested in these things. We are like navigating this environment and we are like connected with the right people. But um, the, the era of marketing will change. And so like the team will be much more lean. You will maybe have like 1 or 2 person who will just like have an army of agents that will like work there and we don't even know how it will look like. But at the same moment, the whole economy will change because, the manner, not the economy, but the manner people are interacting. And like, who would have guessed that the first, like, we knew like since Terminator that an AI was coming, like all the humans have dreamt about it. But who was thinking that the first format of the AI will be actually a chat? Like no one was thinking about that, and that it changed all our interaction. And you went from like looking for Google on like 20 different pages to find your solution to just like asking a question to a single to 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 a chatbot like MSN in the past, and you just get your answer. So like and tomorrow the chats is like maybe it will be another format. Right now, I'm more and more using my voice to communicate with AI. Um, and like this is just like easier, you can just like you're faster. And tomorrow what will that format be? And like tomorrow when we will have like, right now I'm just like asking for some stuff, doing some stuff myself. Tomorrow I will ask for some stuff and I will ask the AI to do some stuff himself. So like, hey, I want you to create my reporting. And right now I'm afraid of hallucination and it's not connected to my tool and things like that, so that I can have all the flow going on, but tomorrow this will. So you don't really know how much like AI you will interact with AI, and how much, and no one knows that, how much people will interact and how much like AI will interact with each other to actually build some stuff. So no one knows. Even though those who tell you that they have all the solution, they don't know. And I think that's teams will be leaner for sure. They will be like, you need to teach yourself how to use it. You need to understand like how these automation tools work. You need to do things that's at a faster scale and much faster, and you can do things at a better scale, also at a bigger scale too. And And yeah, and the most you are prepared, the most you will hopefully survive.
Big fingers crossed. It's so funny. Chat interfaces turned into real life robots super quick. That change happened overnight. I woke up one day and my whole inbox is like robots are folding your laundry. I'm like, "Oh, we're here. Okay, cool." That
It's
happened.
out in January, right? That company.
Yeah.
I don't,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and they're shipping beta models now, and I'm seeing some of these videos, and I remember the first Boston Dynamics video I ever saw with the robot dog, and I was like, okay, this is a little creepy, and now I'm like, but it's just Boston Dynamics at scale in your house, connected to the internet. What could go wrong? But hey, we'll see, and and hopefully it works out positively.
I don't know how much we really need to fight to convince our partner to have one at home. Because like, I find it.
Everybody stop doing chores for a week and see what happens, and then that's the best case study for we need a robot to fold our laundry. But I think one of the things that you mentioned, and obviously you said how basically the landscape is going to shift, and technically everybody's job is in question. I don't want to say in trouble, but one of the things that I've been thinking a lot about, and to me at least logically it makes a lot of sense. Maybe I'm crazy, but I would love to put it out there and get your thoughts. Because the cost of creating something has effectively gone to zero. Anybody can vibe code anything overnight. The tools, even if they're not 100% there, they're getting better every single day. Because the cost of creation has gone to zero, I feel like distribution is now one of the biggest moats that is available to founders in order to actually create a successful business. So if there's 100 variations of a specific company or a specific tool, who's the one that's going to win? It's the one that's going to be able to get in front of the most people and get their product into the hands of the most people. So I think yes, there are many industries at risk, and yes, I think the future is very uncertain, but I feel like marketers will still be in demand, and not only will still be in demand, are becoming increasingly more important to the overall business ecosystem because those are the people that are controlling the distribution gap in whatever channels and whatever tactics and whatever strategies. But I think marketing, especially funds being raised, again, you no longer have to raise funds to build businesses, but you will continue to raise funds to fuel distribution and growth and marketing and ad budgets and so on and so forth. So I think as of right now, the two kind of big winners right now in this whole AI revolution are marketers and then advertising platforms, because all that budget that used to go into R&D and development is now flowing directly into them. What do you think about that? Am I crazy?
Ad platforms have always been the winners of the VC world.
No matter what.
No matter what, they always got the money. And we saw a huge drop in the revenue in 2021 when there was like a little bubble, and there was like companies being overvaluated post COVID. You saw very quickly that advertisers' revenue dropped quite significantly, and right now they are still rising, which tells us what is going to happen. But it's just like, yes, I think marketers will be in demand. I just think like the volume of like, you will have much more competition. You will have fewer, that I think you will have fewer winners because like industry will consolidate. Right now you have a crazy number of AI companies. You have a crazy number of like verticalized AI companies that are like very vertical. I'm not sure that this will stand. I think that long term there will be like horizontal players that will with a winner take all strategy. But yeah, you're right. Marketers will be in demand. The only thing is like the volume of people needed. And I think like this volume of people needed will be like, like you will have these average companies who have like, I'm not talking about startups, I'm saying about classic businesses. These people that are not adapting actually like the new, AI tools, etc. They are in danger. And these people will be the first ones that will be like on the line when like things will be commoditized. But you still have like, let's say 10 years before this happening. First, we are seeing that movement in the in the startup space and in the tech world, and then it will affect like more classic businesses. So yeah.
Yeah. No, I think 100% on the same page. But in my opinion, I think that 10-year timeline actually is much shorter than we think. I mean, the amount of evolution that's happened just over the last year, it's been mind-blowing, and things are moving so rapidly that my timeline spectrum has massively consolidated for everything. When I used to say 3 to 5 years, I say 3 to 5 months now, truly, 'cause it's just moving so quickly, and I think that's both the beauty and the scary part of it.
We are underestimating the time it will take for more classic businesses, like let's say like large banking institution. My partner is working in banking, so like large banking institution, etc., to actually like move that quickly. So like like the tools I was using, like okay, it was like wow, I'm becoming old, like 8, 9, 10 years ago. Actually, when I was like, in French banks, like doing my internship for 6 months, and the tools we were using were like outdated and they were from the 80s or 90s. And I'm pretty sure I'm heading back there. They haven't evolved that much. And I'm not sure that they will evolve that much. Like, so all these classic businesses will stay kind of like they don't adapt as fast as we are. They are like, of course, having Copilot, but I don't know if you saw, but Copilot is limited to five. I tested it for the very first time, like on last Sunday, and it's limited to 500,000, no, 5,000 characters.
Wow.
I'm not saying words, characters.
Characters.
So like, I don't know the number of token, but it's ridiculous compared like to what we can put into like 128 K context, window context on like GPT or whatever. So it's insane.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, there's, on one side, obviously archaic industries, they're sort of hesitant to change, and it's like if it's not broken, don't fix it mentality. But I think on the other hand, and somebody said this the other day, and it really stuck with me, when you look at the margins of AI first companies, they almost look criminal, right? Like it's almost like you've got to be cheating. And so I think really the incentive isn't so much in the evolution and the, adaptation and the change. The incentive is in the margins. The incentive is in the profitability. And I think when some of those archaic industries see the numbers and see the data and the research, I think like that's a big motivator for them, as things have been in the past, right? We've seen that trend before. And so, you know, as much as, AI technology is just a massive leap forward technologically, I think it is also a massive leap forward in terms of economic efficiency. And I think that's the thing that actually turns heads here. When you have the impact on the bottom line, it's like, oh, we should probably take a look,
Yeah, I think you're right. You're totally right.
I would love to ask you kind of a curveball question, but I think it's always fascinating to get people's thoughts on this. If you can share one message to every single founder and marketer in the entire world, what would that message be?
I think it's okay to not know. Like no one knows what's going to happen. And I think like there's a lot of noise, and everyone, when you're on LinkedIn or whatever, or X or whatever platform, you feel that everyone figured it out and everyone knows like where we are heading to, and you have all this big funding. But the reality is that no one does. No one knew. Like again, we didn't know that the platform that will like our first interaction with AI will be a chat. Like, and most likely it won't be a chat anymore. And most likely we will buy product differently, and we will, and it's okay not to know, and it's okay to go with the flow. And we, and you don't have to panic about that. It's what you need to do is just like be up to date, read, talk to your peers, talk to experts whenever you can, so that they actually like tell you like, hey, here is the last few things that I'm seeing in my industry or in whatever is happening. But I feel that there is a lot of anxiety over like, hey, we don't, like, we are afraid, or our business will go broke, or like everything might change. And you will adapt, and you will have time to adapt, because right now the first mover is never the winner. Like, like, who remembers AOL or like Yahoo Mail? Like, I'm just saying like these are not the winners, and we don't know who they will be.
Yeah.
So, so just like focus on what you're you're doing. Don't look too much on your side, and talk with the right people that you have confidence in. Try to integrate as much as you can the AI flows, because this will be a commodity, and you still need to, like, experiment some things out just to see how it's working. And once you did it, you will be ready for taking the next wave.
Wise words to live by. Couldn't agree more myself. Ashkan, thank you so much for taking the time to chat today. I think this was super impactful conversation. I'm very, very excited to get this out into the wild. And I'm also very excited to maybe revisit this a year or two from now and actually see what some of our predictions, whether they came true or they didn't come true. But if people want to follow your journey or follow along with you, where should they look?
I think they can reach out on LinkedIn. I have a pretty unique name and last name, so they can find me pretty easily out there.